All right, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. Welcome into the program. I am merely Beau. He is something so much more substantial. He's the great Z. How are you, buddy?
Just like a rope off of your Goodyear blimp, I am hanging in there. But I've got to tell you, something has happened in the last 24 hours that warms my heart on a level. Okay. We're going to talk about what happened that makes me unhappy. We have plenty of time to talk about what's made me unhappy.
Yeah, this is a true curveball. I don't know what this is. Is it true?
You do know. You do know what this is.
Oh.
Yesterday's show began with the smell of hostility in the air.
Oh,
between
very contentious.
Gibbe, the huge P, and us, as you said, the talent, the big Bs, about Zoom rooms and availability. And he said, and I believe it's a quote. Gibbe, I'd like you to turn your microphone on and be a participant here. I believe that you said yesterday.
I want to see him on the thing.
Yeah,
too,
we need your face.
Is he recording something?
There, yeah. What did you say yesterday to us? If we wanted a Zoom, we need to go make our own Zoom. Is that what you said? Something to that effect?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah. And then our response was, well, Beau's response, which was right. No, we're the talent. We don't do that.
Yeah,
so then we basically put out what I would call the Kingsley Zissou bat signal.
That's
and
right.
we threw that out there, and we even mentioned Ned Fox Plimpton by name on air. And
That's
said,
right.
you know who would do this? He'd do it by 3 o'clock with green nail polish. Ned Fox Plimpton.
right.
That's who would do it.
That's right. Yes, he would.
I received last evening at around 5 o'clock, only because he caught the show on delay,
Oh.
Ned Fox Plimpton's personal Zoom room with green nail polish as the avatar, with an email, a password, and it is a new Zoom account for the Big Bs that is set up for us to use whenever we want, whenever we need to, in case Gibbe tries to shut us out and freeze us out again. No. Ned Fox Plimpton has handled this, and so we're set, Gibbe. We're set. You can't keep a good man down.
I'm sure it's secure.
That's a good job.
I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm sure it's secure.
Kingsley Zissou
It's
did it. Of course
Kingsley Zissou, my friend.
Of course it's secure.
I have no.
Couldn't be
not
more
trying
secure.
To disrespect, but it's not in the building.
I was
So
told. I was
bet
told.
the IT people would say.
I would.
I was told
maybe it's
that
a little rough.
that security people were like, we've never seen such great security before. There's never been security like this in
for
all
sure.
the world, in all the Zoom world. Never been security like this ever before. It's the most secure Zoom
Never.
ever. It's so secure you don't even know how secure it is.
Secure. Okay.
Listen,
you guys
we have the best
If you wanna
security.
have your
So
own
now
little
what you're
Zoom,
saying is you told us we needed to make our own Zoom. Done. And now
except-
not
except
good enough.
Neither one of you did
Not good-
anything to do with it.
Because we, as Beau told
We
you,
delegated.
talent, we don't do that. We have our Ned Fox Plimpton.
At the
who is
break,
a-
I'll
he
have
is-
someone come in to feed you to.
We
I'll have
need.
someone spoon
It's
feed your
so
soup to you.
sad
If only I was
that
still
we're
there.
in
I'd
this.
love a soup.
This pandemic has robbed us from Esteban 2.0 being present.
That's right. So we have to. They have to be done remotely, and it's still getting
And
done.
still getting done.
Beautiful.
Gibbe, just come on, throw out a little praise. This is impressive. It's
Great
impressive
job.
what
Great
we were
job.
able
Kingsley
to do.
Zissou.
I'm always
Great
impressed
job.
by what our fans do.
No. What we did.
No, not what you
That's
do.
right.
Yeah, no, he's a part of us.
Not what you do. You do
He's
your
with
job.
us.
He's with us.
You're doing your job.
Ned Fox Plimpton is, when you talk about me or Beau, you're
He's
also
our
talking
son.
about NFP.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
He's our
We adopted him.
long lost son, and we just found him.
No.
We just found him.
He's
Pure
Team
joy.
Ned,
Zissou.
thank you for taking care of our divas. We appreciate it. And
good job.
continued
Good job,
success in
Kingsley.
all you do, my friend.
This is kind of just like, I think what Ned Fox Plimpton said to Gibbe is, what do the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap!
I'm totally good. My Zoom works perfectly fine.
Yeah. But now
So does ours.
But when you with it,
Well, I don't know about that. Go ahead. I'll sign off. You guys can start your Zoom. If you
it's
guys
just, we
would
have
Well,
it's
let
in
us
our
make
back
sure we know
pocket.
to run it
end the
first.
Zoom right here.
It's in our
and
back
it'll be
pocket.
fine.
It's just in our back pocket.
It's just there for us. Let us practice first before we go ahead and try it. Get
Yeah,
it live
okay.
on the
There
air.
you go.
Most secure there's
Yeah.
ever been.
Okay.
Yes.
Never been more
We always
secure.
have the
All
most
right, Donald.
secure. The most secure. Time for the OBM Hot Topics, Ohio Business Machine for a copy provided of your Cleveland Browns, all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000. Visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Updates from this was incredible. You'll hear from Jarvis later. Broken rib in the Colts game, and no big deal. Out there battling, getting things done. Incredible. You'll hear that from Jarvis a little bit later in terms of our team injury updates. Sendejo slated to return today. Nick Chubb looking good in his rehab, but we won't speculate on when. And then we'll still have some guys, Jacob and Wyatt, that are trending probably not to play Sunday. But everybody else looks like they're getting in better shape.
They are, which is good news. And I think, did you mention Carl Joseph? He's expected back.
I did not.
He is expected to be able to ramp up his activity and is looking good for Sunday. I got to tell you, I'm a little distracted right now, right outside our studio. We don't get to see these kind of luminaries very often, but the owner of your Cleveland Browns, Jimmy, has him recording some type of video right now while this is going on outside. So this is a big
Mr.
help.
Haslam right now is recording you?
No, he's recording a video. He's doing something. He is the talent in this case.
I thought you.
No,
I just imagined Mr.
No.
Haslam had on a phone recording you talking about Kingsley Zissou.
He definitely said hi, and it looked to me like he mouthed "great job" with Ned Fox Plimpton, but I couldn't. I wasn't sure.
Probably
he did.
If that's what
Through
he
his
said.
mask, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he's out there.
I know that his top man is right there 2 feet away.
Oh, that's
Captain
right.
Clemson.
Will Scarlett. Yeah.
Scarlett?
Oh, yeah, he's out
I
there.
haven't seen Scarlett in so long.
He
It's
was
been
just
so long
asking
since
about
I've
He's right
seen
there.
Scarlett.
He's right there.
misses you.
Yeah, he misses you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we would talk a little bit about the college football, so that's sad that I'm not around for those type of conversations anymore. Also, from our perspective, Mike Prefer saying more likely that Donovan Peoples-Jones will remain the number one returner, and the Hammer is doing well with the groin injury. So that's the good news, and most of it is very good news from the injury picture front from us here in Cleveland with the Browns. Now, the league news, not great, and this is one, right? It's one of those things that you just – I'll quote the great Bootsy Bishop on this one. Oh, come on, which is his go-to line now. Oh, come on. That's what I felt like this morning when I'm reading this tweet from Adam Schefter, that the Vikings and Ravens finalized a deal to send Yannick Ngakoue to Baltimore for a third and a conditional fifth in 2022. Remember, the Vikings gave up a 2 to get him, so they basically give up that 2 for 6 games. Now the Ravens give up a 3 to have him for 10. Which is just fantastic, just everything you'd ever want. And so now their defensive line now has Judon, it now has Calais Campbell and Ngakoue, both this year added.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob.
Yeah, not great. And Campbell and Ngakoue were together in Jacksonville when they had the most feared defensive line in the National Football League. And so, no, this is not great. John Middlecoff, who we've talked to at the Combine, said, and this is his quote, "Instead of buying the $1 million home for 1.2, the Ravens ultimately got what they wanted all along for $500K and get to have Thanksgiving and Christmas in the new pad, a.k.a. use him against the Steelers twice. It's a value league, and the Ravens just went Bobby Axelrod on Minnesota." And I think a lot of Browns fans saw this.
A lot of great references in that.
That's why that tweet got. He covered a lot of ground on that.
It's a good one.
Not only we know the Browns have been interested in bringing Ngakoue here. I mean, that was well documented before he ended up getting sent to Minnesota. I think that the Browns, I don't think it would be, hard to speculate that the Browns probably remained interested and unfortunately, didn't get it done. There are ties, obviously, to Minnesota in this organization, and unfortunately didn't happen, and now he is a Baltimore Raven, and double unfortunately is what I'll say about that. Not only is he not a Brown, he's instead a Raven. Not good. Didn't like it. Saw it. I walked in this morning to do to tape something with the fellas, and they're like, "Do you hear about Ngakoue?" And my first reaction was, "Oh, tell me." Yeah, he's a Raven. What?
Oh, come on.
Why?
Yeah. And then to just salt the wound, your friend Dez Bryant joining them as well. And I know you and he had a fantastic moment on. Wasn't he the guy you had the fantastic moment on Hard Knocks?
Suns out, guns out. Sure did. That was one of our. That was one of our great moments.
So Dez Bryant going to Baltimore to join the practice squad there.
So they're going.
So they need receiver help, but
they need somebody to help move the chains, and that's exactly what he would give them, along with Andrews and Hollywood Brown. And at this point in his career, he still probably knows how to get open. He is a guy that can certainly help on that in that receiving core and be another physical presence for them. And he, you hope that he's healthy enough. Love Dez. He's certainly past his prime. This is not like bringing in, peak Dez Bryant, but another piece. And I think what the Ravens are saying is we're going all in this year. I don't think there's any doubt that that's what they're doing. We know that the window is open. We know we are going to have to compete with the Steelers. We know we are going to have to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to have to compete with the Tennessee Titans, who knocked them out of the playoffs a year ago. And they're saying we're not leaving any stone unturned. The Ngakoue one is a killer because that's not just short term. That's short, medium, potentially long. And
we coveted. I mean,
correct.
We wanted him, and he would be what we need. You talked yesterday about the inability to get pressure and sacks opposite Miles on the defensive line. It hasn't happened, and so that would answer some of those questions. This is an arms race in the AFC. It's an all-out arms race, and I think it will continue. I think if there are other teams that try to bail or get rid of salaries, that the Steelers will be involved, that the Titans will be involved, that Kansas City will be involved. You've already look at Lev Bell goes.
We have Joe Woods
This week to amplify them up, and now all of a sudden you have this move with Ngakoue to the Ravens. So those 4 teams think they can win it, and this AFC is bonkers, and they're all going to try to add to their teams to go chase a Super Bowl.
It is, and when you look at the NFL, you astutely pointed out, there are 10 teams with 0 or 1 win. The NFL is adopting in some ways somewhat of an NBA mentality, and that if we're out of it, we're out of it. Let's get as many assets in place to when we're good that we can do something with them. And so I think what the Vikings did, MVD, all of a sudden nobody can come to the Mall of America. There's no joy. The team's going down.
Joy.
COVID's ruined the whole thing. We're done. Ngakoue, he's out.
That's it. He's out.
So that's
Joe Woods.
That's what happened there.
That is what happened there. And more of it is going to come. Here's Joe Woods at the podium. Let's have a listen.
One barely.
Both down.
So there were some opportunities. We were just a step slow. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. We'll go to Jeff Shadell for our next question.
Hey, Joe. Jarvis Landry just told us he's playing with a broken rib. I know that makes him brave and everything, but as a defensive coach, doesn't that make you say, hey, let's go hurt this guy?
No, we never think like that. And to be honest with you, you rarely ever, guys are playing injured. You rarely ever hear about it. Jarvis is fighting through it. And, I don't think guys will take shots on people like that, to be honest with you.
I mean, come on. I mean, don't really, his ribs are right there and his arms are up. A DB's got a shot at him. He's not going to take it?
No, I don't. I mean, for me, I'm not coaching that. I hope other people aren't coaching that. Just try to play the game clean and, that's something probably you got to ask the other team, not me.
Nate Orrick, you have our next question.
Hey, Coach, what did you learn facing Joe Burrow about Joe Burrow that you didn't necessarily know, just by, watching LSU tape or anything like that? And then how will that affect you in your planning this week?
No, we knew he was a good quarterback just based on the plays that we saw. But, seeing it field level, does a nice job going through his progressions. He's just not a one-look quarterback. I think they tailored some of their system to what he did at LSU. You could see that in what they were doing. But I think overall, as we continue to watch tape, he's really doing a nice job executing their offense. And I tell you what, he can take a shot too now.
Thanks, Nate. Tony Grossi.
All right. Joe Mixon didn't practice second day. If Mixon is not available for that, how does that affect your game planning?
We know he's a good back, but they're capable at the position. With Giovanni there, he's been playing for a long time. And he's been productive as well. So next man up for them, we have to be ready regardless. They have sound schemes. They're doing a good job putting it together. We got to be ready to go regardless of who the back is.
And two of your players who were out have now been in the flow. Ronnie Harrison is coming back. We saw what he did in the Jets game. And Mac Wilson is another game into being himself. Do you see these guys as possible, big upgrades to your defense once they get full and once they get whole in your defense?
Yeah, like what we see from both of them. With Mac, playing last year, you got a chance to really evaluate him. And for us, Ronnie has been getting a little bit better every week. And the Colts game, big play running down the sideline. So we definitely feel like they have a future and can be very good players for us defensively.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. George Thomas, you have our next one.
Hey, Coach, I was just wondering, has that passing game improved any, and how have those wide receivers developed since that second game of the season?
Yeah, they're being productive, and T. Higgins, he's number 85. He's a guy that's emerged as well. They drafted him this past season, but they have a full complement of receivers, and that's why they probably threw it against us 61 times. But they have good players out there. You can see them being productive in the passing game. They're probably getting more comfortable with the scheme, and it'll be another hard game for us. We're going to have to match up and win some outside.
Is it kind of weird that A.J. Green right now looks like the third option in that passing game?
He's still getting his touches when you look at the numbers, but I know he's coming back off an injury, so who knows where he's at. But when he does get the ball, he looks like the same A.J. Green we've seen in the past. I just think they have some other guys around them that they're trying to spread the ball to.
Thank you, George. Scott Petrick, you're up.
Hey, kind of following up on that, Joe, when a team plays as much three wides as Cincinnati does and has those three weapons there, how important is it to have a guy like Kevin Johnson, and how has he been playing for you since he's come back from that liver?
Kevin's playing well. I think the first game, like I said, he was working off the rust. He's probably a little nervous as well, but since then, I think he stepped up and has played extremely well for us, and will continue to get better. In the NFL, it's critical that you have a third corner because you play more nickel defense. You're going to be 60-65%, in nickel, and he gives us the ability to match up and do some things. So I'm looking forward to watching him play, and hopefully he plays well Sunday afternoon.
Thank you, Scott. Nate Orr, back to you.
Hey, Coach, with obviously the emphasis on takeaways is there, and this goes back to that question earlier. It seemed like when Denzel Ward got caught on the out and up for the touchdown, do you talk to him about like the balance there of taking a risk, trying to get a takeaway, or how do you view that play from him and what was going through his head?
Anytime there's a big play, and that was a play that he got hit on in the game, the first thing you look at is what did he do technically? And there were some things we thought that he could do better at the top of the route in terms of his eye discipline. Sometimes you get anxious and you think it's, hey, here comes the big one. And sometimes when it looks too good and feels too good, there's a problem. And that's what had happened to him. Just got big eyes, and instead of keeping his eyes in the right place.
Thanks, Nick. Tom Wither.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Coach, it sounds like you guys are a little more stable in the back with at least with the safeties getting healthier. How hard has this been, Joe, to figure out what you got and who you are with all this, piecemeal stuff you've had to do for 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's tough because there's certain things in our defense that we want to do, but right now it's probably not the right thing to do. It's just getting more reps, figuring out what guys can do, how much you can put on their plate. But I think it's a problem that's going on throughout the NFL that everybody's dealing with, and we're in the same boat. And we're not going to make excuses for it. We're just going to keep pushing forward and just try to keep adding things that we feel are going to help us play better defense.
Thanks, Tom. Nate Orr.
Along those lines, Coach, how's Carl Joseph looking now that he's back out there on the practice field?
Yeah, he's coming back. He's going to be out there today and take some reps. So we'll see where he's at today.
You had mentioned earlier this season that he's a guy with a chip on his shoulder. How do you see that show up in his personality and his play?
Yeah, I think he's always felt like because you hear him talk, like all the guys talked at one point during the offseason. And I feel like he probably felt like he was overlooked out of high school, overlooked, in college. So I just think he has an internal chip where he wants to prove to everybody that he can play. And obviously coming from Oakland and not getting another contract there, I just think that's just something he always has in the back of his mind. And my biggest thing is, hey, you're still in the NFL, you're playing. Just show up and play the best you can, but don't try to play and make plays outside of what you're supposed to do. And that's just been my biggest coaching point to him.
We have time for one more quick one, then we got to get Coach out to practice. Mary Kay.
Stand by. Last question.
Just wondering, with the success that Miles has had this season, do you anticipate, just even more double teaming, more chipping, and people just really, scheming to get him out of the game? And when that happens, what can you just keep moving him around, or how are you going to counteract that?
Well, part of it is moving them around. We're definitely aware of the looks when they are going to chip or slide the protection to them. But you have to have balance in your defense. So, if a team is going to slide the protection to him, then we may blitz away, and you got to make a choice. So I think you have to put that on tape, and then people are going to have to make a decision on how they're going to protect.
And did you feel like, the Steelers really did a good job of kind of helping to neutralize him a lot of the game?
Yeah. I mean, you have to give them credit, man. They played well. They made plays against us. Ben's a veteran quarterback, and getting the ball out of his hands, so there was some protection. He was getting the ball out of his hands quick. So it was a combination of a few things, but overall, they did a good job.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach.
You're up.
All right, good stuff from Coach there. Coming up next, we'll take a look at his defense against the Cincinnati offense that goes about it a little differently than they did the first time we played them. We'll get you set with that matchup coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Yeah, you're up. For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. All right, it is matchup day. Let's take a look at Joe Woods' defense versus Cincinnati offense, which frankly has gotten better. And they were a handful that day we played them on that Thursday night, and I was not crazy if they would have recovered that onside kick if we're going to be able to stop them the way that Burrow was marching them up and down the field. We're different too, but Burrow getting better and better every week, connecting on deep balls, hit a 67-yarder to T. Higgins in the game last week against Indianapolis. A.J. Green reintroduced into the offense as well, so they have added some deep passing components to it. This is something they weren't doing when we played them early in the season. Almost all of Burrow's stuff was short and underneath. Not the case anymore. He literally throws to anywhere on the field, and he does it at a pretty high level.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow, as you mentioned, 3 of the last 4 games, over 300 yards passing. And one of the things that I like to look at, and you talk about, and it comes from confidence, right? And over the first 2 weeks of the season, yards per attempt, 5.3, 5.1 against us. Now the last 4 games, 3 times over 7, 2 times over 8 yards per attempt. Air yards, the first 2 games of the year, 5 air yards per attempt. The last 4 games, about 7 air yards per attempt. That is a significant jump, and that means, as to your point, pushing it down the field. We talked about yesterday how efficient he's been, 10 to 19 yards. Quarterback rating of over 100. Outside the numbers left, middle of the field where he's been dynamic, outside the numbers right. All quarterback ratings over 100, 10 to 19 air yards. Those are big-time throws. That's driving the football. That's where he is making a killing. And for the Browns, one, you've got to get pressure on him. It doesn't affect him like it does some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL.
No, he stands.
His pressure rate, his numbers against pressure have been solid. If he has to hold the ball, he's been solid. They've got an excellent trio of receivers. I think the biggest change for the Browns in this one versus last time will be Kevin Johnson at nickel, because remember, Boyd had 1 touchdown, dropped a second. I think when our slot corner, which was Tavier at the time, was targeted, I think it was 10 targets, 9 catches, gave up a bunch of yards, a touchdown. The only incompletion was a drop, which could have been a second touchdown. Getting Kevin Johnson back in this game, I think, is massive for the Browns in terms of this matchup, because now you've got 3 guys who can match up with their 3 guys. Ronnie Harrison, I'm telling you, I think Ronnie Harrison is destined to be Ronnie Harrison and Grant Delpit. I know we can't look that far into the future, but if I put on my future goggles and I see that as a tandem that we love on the back end of this defense for many, many years to come. He's a stud. He wasn't really a factor in that first game. He was just getting in. Remember, he was late even on a cover 2 read that allowed Uzomah to get that 1 touchdown. That's not the same anymore. He's ready to play, and I think play at a high level for the Browns. So I think our back end is markedly different. You didn't have Mack Wilson in that game, so I think our linebacking room's different. And by the way, I want to point out something. Malcolm Smith was kind of an addition that you looked at and you said, okay, we're bringing in a veteran. Yeah, Mack got hurt, but I don't think any of us were expecting, per se, that to end up being a big deal. He's played great for this team. Every week when they give out the game balls, he's a guy that they give the game ball to on the defensive side. They love what he's brought to this team in terms of his coverage ability. He really has been a tremendous addition to this linebacking core. And even he, back in week 2, was still getting ramped up. He was new to what was going on. So I think defensively we're a completely different team than we were that time.
Yeah, I think we are too. I think that they have stabilized a little bit. I think their offensive line's in a little better shape than it was the last time we played. It seems like they've gotten their guard situation sorted out a little bit in terms of how to go about that. It's still not great. Their offensive line is not great. It's why they've had a hard time getting Joe Mixon going as well. But one thing that they've done, at least more recently than they did early when we played him the last time, was get Mixon involved in the passing game. The last 2 games where he's played a full game, 25 carries against Jacksonville, 24 against Baltimore, 6 targets against Jacksonville, 8 against Baltimore. That is a big amp up from what they were getting out of Mixon early in the season when we played him the first time around. Now, the question about Mixon's health is a real one. He goes down with a foot injury against Indianapolis on Sunday after he scored the touchdown. He was been held out of practice to this point, but from what I understand, there's no boot or anything like that, and the feeling is that he'll be ready to go on Sunday. And as you pointed out yesterday, when he goes good against us, it's an L. It's really that simple.
Yeah, this year when he rushed for 100 yards, they won. Last in his career against the Browns, when he runs for more than 100 yards, he's 2-1. When he doesn't, he's 1-3. So he is really the engine that allows them to be versatile on offense. Wanted to point out just real quickly, Pro Football Focus grades for our defense. Here are the top 5 graded players who have played significant snaps. Garrett 1, Malcolm Smith 2, Ronnie Harrison 3, Denzel Ward 4, Ogunjobi 5, Kevin Johnson 6. You didn't have Kevin Johnson. You didn't really have Ronnie Harrison. Malcolm Smith did play a lot in that game because of all the other injuries, but he was still newer to the team. But he's our 2nd graded guy. Harrison's our 3rd graded guy. Kevin Johnson. So we are a completely different team, I think, from a pass standpoint than we were the first time around. But you mentioned Mixon, and yes, you need to limit him. He is week 17 last year. He beat us up. He ran us over. He's impressive. There are a few guys that I see and I think this guy is he is a special player.
He is, and as you know, as someone who's been on field level and watched him, it's not just his physical skills, which are great. He's an emotional firecracker for them. Like, he really leads from example. He's loud. He gives them juice, and keeping him under wraps early, making them one-dimensional, as good as that one dimension is with Burrow and those three. And it's crazy to realize that Burrow is a rookie and that T. Higgins is a rookie, and they're starting to come along. Like, we didn't have to deal with Higgins first time out. He was still getting his sea legs. Well, he's got him now, and they're using him, and he's getting open and deep. And he was a guy who in the draft I did not want him there because I loved him at Clemson. I loved him. And now they've got it humming a little bit with those 3 receivers. But you make him one-dimensional and you tee off, and then that comes to the next question, and that is, how do you generate pressure? How do you generate pass rush from somebody other than Miles? Miles is doing his job, to your point. You talked about the grades there. But we've got to be able to create pressure on Burrow from somewhere else, and this offensive line still is not up to par with our defensive line, and so it has to come from somebody else. Does it come from blitz, from the linebacker position? Who is able to get to Joe or get in his face? Your point, he will hold it, he'll take hits, he'll do all those things. Got a lot of poise for a young kid, but you've got to be able to create pressure from somebody other than Myles Garrett and the occasional corner or safety blitz.
Yeah, and that is really important, and we've kind of talked about it. Claiborne's last sack was in week number 2. Sheldon Richardson's last sack came in week number 3, and that was the last time any defensive lineman has gotten a sack not named Myles Garrett. And so you've got to generate. Now, the Bengals' offensive line, just breaking down into their offensive line, they have allowed 83 pressures this year, 3rd most in the NFL in terms of total pressures allowed. And sometimes that gets assigned to the quarterback in the Pro Football Focus way. Under total pressures allowed, they have allowed the most. No quarterback has been pressured on more dropbacks than Joe Burrow's 104. Daniel Jones, 2nd, 102. Carson Wentz, 3rd at 98. So you've got to get him and get after him. Now, his completion percentage under pressure, it does drop, 46.4%. His passer rating, 58.5. So he can be absolutely affected by pressure. It's not as drastic as a drop-off of some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL, but that's what as you said, you want to make him feel the duress, and you want to get after him, and that's what the Browns are going to have to do. And that's to do that, though, job 1, I wrote up in the matchup to watch this week, job 1 is to stop Joe Mixon. That's priority 1. Because once they get unidimensional, you have an opportunity, play more coverage shells. I think you're going to see the Browns in this one try to do some more matching up, maybe a little more man with the safety. If you can play man-2 against this team, if you can stop the run and play man-2, they're not going to be able to throw the ball on you. And you now have the corners to be able to do it.
Yeah. It's really that simple. Burrow leads the NFL in passing attempts. He's 8th in yards.
Yep.
It's really remarkable in terms of how much they're throwing it, and the success rate he has. PFF grade is almost 75. Is where he is on that front. But they're going to. This is the other thing with this game for them, and they're not acknowledging it in their. They're not talking. They wouldn't talk like this in terms of in their building, but you talk around the franchise. This is the one that they think they can get, because you go look at their schedule, buddy. There's not another one. It's really tough. It's us. It's Baltimore. It's Pittsburgh. They don't have another game that in their mind, their fans' mind, is winnable, and they think this game is winnable. They don't have another one like this until they play the football team at the end of November.
Right.
This is one that's circled. We're getting that one on Sunday. That's the way that they will approach this game. I really do on Sunday.
Let me tell you something. It's the one for us too, by the way, that we've got to get and to solidify a winning first half of the season. And so, yeah, I think this is a game with a tremendous amount of importance so far this year. And, you know, they're 1-1 at home. They beat the Jags at home. Their loss at home was to the Chargers that, frankly, you could absolutely make the case that they won that game. They've been tough there. They beat us there last time we were there. You've got to get out. You've got to get on in the lead against them. You've got to jump out to that lead, and you've got to be a team. You've got to limit Joe Mixon. I really think that is so critical for this team. Of all the kind of, you know, they put together these little stats that when this happens, when that happens, when this happens, you know, all of those things.
Yep.
The only one that they are 0-4-1 is when they rush for less than 125 net yards. Everything else has some variation. So remember, they're 1-4-1 on the season. There are plenty of things that happen 1-4-1, this, that, whatever. But the only one that truly encompasses all four of their non-winning performances is that stat and that stat alone. When rushing for less than 125 net yards, that's it. That's the list.
Yeah. Yep. It's a direct path. It's a direct path, and it's this is a fun one. It's a big one for both. It's big for them. It's really big for us. It's really big for us to get this one in the right column, and it happened the last time around. It needs to happen this time around as well. We'll do the offensive side of the matchup coming up in the second hour of the program. Coming up next, you'll hear from Jarvis Landry at the podium. Before we do that, though, I want to remind you that if you're a sports fan looking for a part-time weekend job, you can get into the action at First Energy Stadium, home of your Cleveland Browns. Wes is now hiring for part-time event staff and security. You can apply online at weshiring.com. Jarvis Landry up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Union Home Mortgage, their loan officers go into overtime to deliver a world-class mortgage experience. Going to leave you a raving fan. Find home financing options you need, customer service you want. Visit unionhomemortgage.com to get a mortgage you'll rave about. Union Home Mortgage. Promises kept. Union Home Mortgage Corp. NMLS 2229 is an equal housing lender. Here is one of the real leaders of this football team, and you're going to hear more proof of that right here. Jarvis Landry at the podium from earlier today.
What gives you the feeling, the
Both time.
that you guys can get this passing game rolling and get it up to the point where it's really super effective?
It starts with practice. It starts with coming out here and making sure that we're doing everything that we can do, being in the right spots, making the plays here in practice, continuing to gain the trust of the coaching staff to be able to get it called on Sundays.
We didn't talk to you last week, and I know you didn't practice a bunch last year because you were dealing with the hip, but does this still bother you when you miss practice during the week?
Of course. I love practicing. I love being out there with the guys, and it's always tough to miss practice.
Hey, Jarvis, is trying to come back from losing that game to Pittsburgh different than it was trying to come back from losing to Baltimore, or is it basically the same?
No, it's all the same. We don't want one loss to turn into two. Coach Stefanski, after going on the first thing that he told me, and that's the first thing that he told us as a team. We don't want to turn one loss into two, so you got to come back in here, come back in the building, and get ready to work and put a good plan together to go out there and beat the Bengals this Sunday.
Hey, Jarvis, forgive me for an OBJ question, but I was just curious, since you know him so well, with the self-imposed down from LSU yesterday, can you just talk about how tough that is for him to maybe hear that for a school that he loves as much as he does?
Yeah, of course. I have no knowledge of the situation, but I know it is going to be tough for him, being that he's so tied into that school and the history of the program.
Hey, Jarvis, just wondering, you and Odell, both of you guys, like to get people fired up on the sidelines, and you do a good job of motivating the team, and I think you guys have really established yourself even as more vocal leaders this year. So I'm just wondering, how was Odell's, when he gathered the team together, and he talked about it with us yesterday, when he gathered you guys together to get the offense, kind of back into the game? How was that received? What was that message like? And how do you think that will impact you guys going forward?
He's a leader over our team. Anytime he speaks, everybody's listening. And, I can only, say that it was taken the right way. But, we went out there and we weren't able to put it together. And sometimes that happens. But, that would never make him shy away from, continuing to be a leader and saying what he needs to say, and that goes for every leader that's on this team.
Hey, Jarvis, I'm just wondering, does the mood now feel like it did after the Ravens game? I mean, was there a determination or something in practice that stood out that reminded you of that would lead you to believe that you guys can go on another run here?
Yeah, I think the belief is in each other, and coming out here each and every day and understanding that we still have to get better. There's still places and areas of our team that we still have to get better. We still have to stop turning the ball over. All of the things that got us beaten in week one showed up again here this past week. So, we got to find a way to eliminate those things. And with that comes with that being eliminated, that comes with making more plays and having more opportunities.
I know you said that after the game too, right? Like you talked about turnovers and penalties and stuff. So, I was just wondering do you think that's happening because, of better competition, it's easier to make mistakes against some of those really good teams, or is it just you guys?
No, I think with us, I want to say we had 2 turnovers. Both of those turnovers were just, I think for us, if you look back to everything that we practiced and talked about, they're on us. But guys are out there trying to make plays, and you can never get mad with that or feel some type of way about that. But then, you understand too, when you're playing against great football teams that know how to manage the game, know how to make your defense stay out there as long as possible, it can get tough to win those games. I mean, you look at any team in the NFL, you turn the ball over, the percentages of you winning that game goes down dramatically. So You know, and we put our defense in a tough spot a lot of the times with those turnovers. So, you know, for us, we got to figure out a way to play complementary football.
Jarvis, Coach Stefanski was really hard on himself after the game, you know, repeatedly blaming himself for, you know, putting you guys in tough situations. Do you understand maybe that he's got some growing pains? And I would assume you haven't lost any confidence in his leadership.
No chance. You know, one of the things that I've always, you know, continued about our conversations with, whether it's me to other players or me to, you know, coaches, and having just a conversation, it's like we have a hard job. Like, our job is not easy. You know, our job is hard. And, you know, we get criticized or critiqued whether we do well or whether we do good. Bad. So I think for us, you know, we got to just know that everything inside of our building that we can control, we need to control that. Come out on the practice field. His motto has always been just come to work, you know, and, you know, we're doing that. We're doing that each and every week. And, you know, hopefully that always translates into wins, and sometimes it doesn't, you know, and that's just what it is, you know.
Did you notice, like, maybe in practice yesterday, that people pick it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think the intensity of practice has been the same since day one. You know, I think guys are out here working hard. Guys are practicing through injuries. Guys are retaining new information each and every day. We come in the building and then taking it out to the practice field and executing it at a high level. You know, so I would say our attention to detail and our focus is definitely here.
You brought up the injuries before. Is it a telltale sign, Jarvis, when you know guys are hurt and they're really pushing through it like you said they are this week? Pardon the pun. Is that a healthy sign for a team, though? Does that show that everybody is bought in and that everybody is really pulling the same direction when the guys are doing that?
Yeah, you know, it's Cleveland, right? You know, it's blue collar, whatever it takes, you know, and I think that we have that mindset and that mentality here. And these guys come and show that each and every day. But, you know, we want to be smart. We want to protect our guys as well. But if they can go, you know, we always like for them to be out there and at least participating.
Hey, Jarvis, just wondering, you know, what can you guys do as receivers, as skill players, to help Baker out a little bit more in some of those situations where, you know, you can see that he's struggling, and I've been harping on this since yesterday, but, I mean, when he gets kind of hemmed into the pocket, that's one area where something needs to improve. I don't know if it's schematically or what something you guys can do. What is your role in? Do you guys go to you know, Kevin and offer suggestions, or what can you guys do to help in a situation like that?
Yeah, again, we have hard jobs, you know, and whether we're going to talk to Coach Stefanski or you know, having a conversation with CEO, and hopefully that conversation, you know, gets to Coach Stefanski in the right way, that we can get things called or whatever it is. But you know, I think for us as receivers, we can only make the plays when we're given the opportunities to. So, you know, and I think there's a lot of guys in the receiver room that's ready to make plays, and myself included, you know, just need some more opportunities.
Are you guys doing a good job of, you know, I remember that day that Baker said to you guys, you know, stay patient, the time is coming. Do you think you guys are doing a really good job with that aspect of it, of just trying to hang on in there and know that it's going to get better?
Yeah, we are. You know, we are. It's tough, but, you know, it's part of it. You know, it's a team game, and, you know, as receivers, you know, a lot of our success is solely based on, you know, 9-10 other guys, you know, so, but, you know, everybody, again, we have hard jobs. Everybody, again, is coming out here and working as hard as they can, and everybody's trying to win. You know, there's not one person that's in this building or that takes the field is not trying to win, or, you know, when a play call comes in that Coach Stefanski doesn't think that it's the right call, you know. So, you know, for us, we just got to continue to trust and believe in each other.
Hey, Jarvis, you have this consecutive, you know, game streak that you've had throughout your career. So I wanted to ask you, we know you keep saying that you've been working back to full strength from the hip. The hit you took against the Colts, has that had any
1 minute
effect? Are you pushing through something additional now to keep going the way you always do?
Yeah, so that hit actually broke one of my ribs, so I'm still kind of dealing with that and playing through that, and just kind of, you know, out here in practice, just doing whatever I can, and you know, giving it my all on Sundays.
So Have you ever had a broken rib before?
No, never.
Okay, so what's it like to play through that?
It hurts. It hurts. It hurts.
30.
Yeah, I don't know.
But,
I'm worried. You know what happened.
Depending on the play, whatever is, at times it's bearable. But we've done a good job of making sure that I'm getting little protection here throughout the week, and then making sure that I cover it up and do whatever I need to do to play on Sundays.
Stand by.
Sleeping, breathing, is that hard or is that too dramatic?
Yeah, all normal stuff. All normal stuff that I guess one would anticipate from having a rib.
You're up.
I just want Brown for life, and I want Ring of Honor, Jarvis Landry. That's what I want. That career here with him. That's what I want. Love him.
Couldn't love him anymore. I mean, he is
the best.
everything that you want. He is the best to everybody in this building. He is a class act on the field, off the field. The guy has played through significant injury a year ago. He's playing through significant injury again this year. He is as tough as they come, a complete competitor. I know he would love, as we talked about before, he'd love to finish his career. He should be a Brown for life. He is, I think, everything that it means to be a Cleveland Brown. He's a guy who fits in perfectly with this city in terms of just the work ethic, the desire to overcome, blue collar. And it just is stunning to me that he's a guy that came here under the auspices that he'd be, not good in the locker room, blah, blah, blah. What? The guy, he couldn't be better. I love Jarvis Landry. Easily. He will always, no matter what, he will always be on my Browns all-time teams. He will always be somebody that I have the utmost respect for and could not be prouder that he's somebody that gets to represent the organization that, that I work for, that we do a show for. Yep. I love him.
He's the best.
The best.
Yep. Beamsy's going to be him for Halloween. So I got to get him
Really?
I got to get him a purple, little purple wig, and I got to get him a little cross dangly earring that we're going to go with. But we got everything else set, so he's all set up to be Jarvis for Halloween next week. Pretty excited about it. So
that
is
exciting.
That was, him and Mike the Miz. The Miz also was. I want the Jarvis.
Of course he did. You're exactly right.
The cream rises.
That's who I want.
Cream rises, my friend.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what you want. All right, you'll hear from your offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, at the top of the hour. How do you get the pass game going? Coach Van Pelt will answer those questions, among others, and we will get into the offense versus defense comparison as well. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my great friends at Raising Cane's, and on game day, go for the win with Raising Cane's chicken fingers. Stack your roster with delicious hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers and cane sauce. Huddle up with those crispy, crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, buttery Texas toast. Top it all off, freshly made tea and lemonade. It's all a win. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, proud sponsor of Ohio High School Association and Ohio State Athletics. Two big winners there. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers certainly is one love. Beau Bishop, Nate Zegura joining you here with you for the final hour of the program.
Zegura.
At least that's
Yes,
Zegura. Gosh, it's so formidable. Nate Zegura?
Zegura.
Wow. Jeez, can you imagine?
Nathan Dragomir Zegura.
Wow. That's like somebody at Fight Island at UFC.
You don't want any part of that.
You're ready to go.
Yeah.
You're ready to go with that. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So we're just
what's
laughing.
happened.
I just got my
Amazing.
credential for the Bengals game, and as you guys know, my name is Nathan Zegura.
Correct. That's right.
But
well
according to
documented.
this credential, it is Nate Zegura with a B. Yes. Well, they know that I'm a big B, so they're like, let's just throw a
well,
B
that's true. Maybe that just
into
seeped in.
Zegura.
The Venus.
Yeah,
seeped
just
in.
make it Zegura.
Zegura. Just throw it in. That's incredible. The funny thing is, this is your first trip down there, right? Like they haven't had you down there before. First trip for you to Cincinnati?
Negatory, good buddy. And I'm pretty sure these were not made in Cincinnati and then mailed here. Or maybe they were. I don't know. Gibbe, what say you? Is this the
Cincinnati
disrespectful work
ships-
of the Bengals?
Cincinnati ships them all up here, but then we're supposed to put the labels on, I think. That is not a correct label. I've seen
Are you
far
saying that's
worse.
an inside job?
In 8 years,
Is
I've
that done
definitely
here?
seen far worse. But
I don't know. Nate Zegura is
So
pretty
far,
good.
your example of worse is just adding an S to the end of a name, which is like an S at an end of a word or a name that just happens. But a B out of nowhere?
Coolest was Kubis with a Kubis, and they weren't going to allow him on the field in Cincinnati.
Why, did they look at his ID too?
Yeah.
What?
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Oh yeah, that was a whole
Absolutely.
other issue.
So such a big B, they had to put a name. I thought you were going to say they had another S to the name, to Koulis's name, which would have been actually hilarious.
I just think if they don't let you on the field, you just go up to the radio booth and just do your hits from there.
Well, they won't allow me onto the
Just do
field,
it from
but I'll
there.
be in the operational zone. So
That's it.
2020.
Good
Thanks
spot.
a lot.
That's a good
40% chance of rain.
COVID. I'm just going to bring rain
Oh.
gear then.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Yeah, he's safe. All right, so Z will be making, indeed, a return to Cincinnati,
That's
a place he's been before. Alex Van Pelt as well. He was on that staff a year ago. Here is your offensive coordinator at the podium from earlier.
Hey, Alex. I mean, you know how tough it is to play in this league. What does it say about Jarvis Landry that he
Is this a 6?
has gone 7 seasons without missing a single game? You know, he's playing through the broken rib, he told us right now. Just kind of weighing on the toughness that he has to have to do what he's done.
Yeah, really, there's no one tougher on the team, really. I mean, you think about the things that he does, and then the injury he had, and the way he still plays after the injury. You know, hats off to him. You know, he's made out of burlap, man. He's tough as nails, and definitely fortunate to have him on the team, and appreciate that toughness brings to the whole team.
Sticking on Jarvis for 1 second, you played in the league. What kind of a trickle-down effect does that have when a player, especially one of his stature, is willing to go out and play with an injury like that?
It's a big trickle down. Everybody in the locker room understands that. You know, it's week 7 in the NFL. There's not a lot of guys that feel great, but to have an injury like that and to play through it, you know, it sets a fire under everybody else's butt in that locker room. You know, if Juice is out there giving his best with you know, an injured rib, then why aren't we doing the same? So it really does light a fire under the guys in the locker room.
Obviously, you guys didn't get off to the start that you wanted last week. You know, when you get down early like that, Coach, you know, how much does that limit your ability to kind of counterpunch? How much did that make it easier for the Steelers to kind of do what they wanted to, especially on defense?
Yeah, it definitely does. When you get down a few scores in the game, you know, the defense changes a little bit. They pin their ears back to rush the passer. The thought of you know, bringing a safety down in the box and giving you one-on-one matchups kind of goes away, so it changes your game plan a little bit. But we definitely have to do a better job of starting fast and not digging those holes for us early in the game.
What are the main lessons you want Baker to learn from each of those interceptions, and what are some of the other things you're stressing to him after that game?
Just you're going to keep getting better each week. It's always about the ball first and protecting the football, whether you're a ball carrier or a passer, making great decisions. That's a big part of it. He got a little fooled on a coverage there than the first pick, and the second one was just a poor decision of trying to do too much. So it's finding that happy medium of knowing when the play's over, and ultimately knowing that turnovers cost us, and we can't turn the ball over at that position or any position on the offense.
Hey, Coach, when you watch that Pittsburgh game, what stands out to you about your offensive line's performance?
Obviously that's an extremely good front. They're a talented group, and we did not play our best football. I think, as you look at a team like that, that's a really good defense. You have to play one of your best games offensively across the board to be in the game with them, and we definitely didn't do that. I got a lot of confidence in the guys up front. There's no question. Those guys are going to play at a high level for a long time in this year. But that was definitely not our best outing as a group, and we're looking forward to rebound. That's the beautiful thing about this league. It's 16 sprints, really, kind of that Tour de France. We didn't win this leg of the race, but we got a next one coming Sunday, and that's the one we're worried about right now.
Because the line has been so good for you before that game, do you kind of see a renewed focus or commitment or something?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes when you get kicked in the butt, it kind of, brings some awareness back to you, a little self-awareness of where we're at, and refocuses everybody. It ties them all down, locks them in, and it's the NFL, so you can go out there any week and go against any team, and if you're not playing at a high level, at your best level, there's a chance that you're not going to win that game. So it reiterates to us the narrowing of the focus this week to get ready to play in Cincinnati.
What do you think about, Odell's, saying that, he just never wants to come out of a game. He wants to play to the final whistle. And will that change how you guys approach at least, the decision making with him going forward?
I would definitely want those type of players on our team, as opposed to the guys that would be happy to be pulled out of a game, in kind of a game that got away from us. Baker was not real happy, didn't talk to me for a little while after the game either. He wanted to stay in as well. So those are the guys you want on your team, the fighters, the guys that want to finish the race. Again, I did say this is a 16-game, one-at-a-time sprint, and it's a little bit of a marathon in that regard. So we've got some guys that were injured. We need to get out of that game and get healthy for the long run. But I do appreciate the fact that they want to play, and I love that about those guys.
Hey, Coach, obviously, you know the story of Baker coming in when he got the job, and he had a great rookie season and took steps back last year. This year, been up and down a little bit.
1 minute.
Criticism from the outside. What is your overview of where he's at and what you think he can be?
I think the arrow is up for sure. He's going to continue to get better. We're still very new in the system of what we're getting done. As far as the outside criticism, I hope he doesn't listen to that. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure. One thing that I've told him, one of the biggest steps I made as a coach was not listening to anything and just trusting the internal criticism that you get from your coaches. Those are the ones that matter. Everybody from the outside really doesn't have a great of what's going on the inside. So, be tough on yourself, but, turn off that outside noise.
Is that hard to ask a guy like that who admits to using that as fuel throughout his career? If you think it can be detrimental, but it's helped him in his mind in the past?
That's a tough one.
Stand by.
I hope that, that wouldn't be what drives him. I think, just playing good for your teammates, playing better for your teammates, that would be what would drive a guy, and I'm sure he falls into that category.
You're up.
That's interesting stuff there from Coach Van Pelt in terms of what motivates guys and what they use. And we talked about this with Bernie yesterday about this is a generation of guys who have grown up on their phones, on social media. And it was easier when Bernie played to, not read the newspaper, not watch local television, because that was really the only place where you were going to hear criticism was in those two places, and really just the newspaper. Local television in those days was not opinion. It was, this is happening at 7 o'clock. Here are the two combatants. It was very, very different. And now everyone has an opinion, and that opinion can be, my gosh, the idea that just like average fans, you can read the idea. To me, the coup de grace on this is Kevin Durant had burner accounts.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
There's not a single person that who's ever talked or known anything about sports that thinks Kevin Durant is anything other than a spectacular basketball player and one of the best 30 of all time. And he had a burner account. That's how much these guys are on those apparatuses and how hard it is to turn it off.
And I thought Pat McAfee made a great point. I think it was either yesterday or on Tuesday, and he was talking about just social media and how you're a player, right? Let's say Kevin Durant, for example. There are probably millions of people who follow Kevin Durant on social media. He's got tons of fans. Everybody thinks he is great. But we live in a day and age where if he goes out and has a less than stellar game, for example, he could be scrolling for 20 minutes before he gets to something positive. Because people don't go on Twitter often to say, hey, you're great. I love you. No, you're great, Kevin Durant. Never. It's all right. You'll be better next time. I still have total faith in you. People go on Twitter and be like, ha, you suck. You're the worst. Yes. You stink, Durant. Blah, blah, blah. And so he could be scrolling, and that's all he sees is all this negativity. And it could, I imagine it could become suffocating at a point to look at it. And so, he creates a burner account because he doesn't want to go back at these haters because then it looks like it's bothering him. But then anonymously, he can be like, oh, yeah, you stink. So it's just a very strange world we live in, but we also live in certainly we'll call it an online society, and I think it's unfortunately much more pervasive in all aspects of society, that thrives on negativity and thrives on the tearing down of those that maybe on some level there's an envy or a jealousy of or whatever, but anybody who seems to have a better lot than you or more talent than you, there is a propensity from a good portion to, and certainly from the vocal minority or vocal majority as it may be, those are the ones who are going to thrive on that negativity and the tearing down. It's just kind of a strange aspect of what of our society has become in some ways.
It's well said. It's a leveling of the playing field because you can go directly at someone.
Yep.
A normal average Joe can go at Kevin Durant, if we stay with that example, can go at him and say anything they want unfiltered, and Durant will hear it, will read it and hear it. There's a decent chance he will.